Hey, this is Yazuki Wolf, and welcome back to another episode of the Manga Workshop series. Today, I'm going to be going over the supplies that I use for doing my manga. I'm not going to go too much into the uses of them. It's more like just a shopping list so that you know that these are supplies that we're going to be using in future videos. So if you already have these, or you could check it off your list, or if you need to get some of these, you can put them onto a shopping list for yourself to pick up in the future so that you'll be ready for our future videos. But also in this video we'll be giving you a couple simple exercises that you can do without most of these supplies. You can do pretty much as long as you have some paper and an inking pen. So I think probably anyone who is interested in doing manga will have at least those two things. And then for future videos you could try to consider getting the rest of these supplies. So let's see, what supplies do we use for making manga? Well, first off, this is pretty much all I think I would need to do anything I would want to do. There may be something I'm missing that I might want to go out and get later, but for the most part I think this will cover all your bases. So first simple thing is your manga paper. So now obviously you don't absolutely have to get this a special manga paper. This is actual bought in Japan Manga Genkou Youshi, so this is what manga artists in Japan use. But if this is not available in your area, you could probably get some other type of comic book paper, just as long as it's a fairly thick paper, because a lot of the tools we're using will kind of tear up little like letterhead paper like this, so you have to get something with a little bit more more weight to it. But if you are able to get something like this, this is Maxon produces this. There's a couple companies that do this, and I don't think the company really matters too much, but it's the sizes generally come in B4 or A4. If you are in America or a different country that doesn't use B4 and A4, you can look up the actual sizes of those online. This B4 is 257 by 364 millimeters, and basically B4 is bigger than A4. This is the B4 size. A4 is closer to a letterhead size, 3.5 by 11 inch letterhead. It's not exactly 3.5 by 11 inches though, but it's closer to the same size. And so this is A4 size, and this is the B4 size. The general idea, I guess, is that if you choose A4, you'll probably be able to finish your pages faster because you have less area to draw. But you also won't be able to get as much detail into your drawing. So I think generally most professionals use B4 because it allows them to get extreme details. I mean, the page is going to be shrunk down when it's printed as a manga, but it still just allows you to get more details in by working at a larger size to begin with before it gets shrunk down in the printing. So that's the paper, and then in addition to just having your actual manga genko, genko meaning the actual page for the manga, I always try to also have scrap paper ready, because you're gonna be making a lot of test strokes with these different tools to make sure that the ink and everything is working properly before you go onto your main page. Also, I tend to use these a lot to kind of rest my hand on, so that I can avoid like scrubbing ink or dirt from my hand onto the page. It's something that really takes getting used to, and I honestly, since I haven't really been doing this physically for a long time, I'm pretty sure that in a lot of these videos I'm going to be very messy and be scrubbing and getting ink blots all over the place. But I'm sure that many of you may be doing the same thing, so when you see me do that, you can see how I handle cleaning that up and things, and hopefully that will be of some use to you as well. But okay, so also in addition to the scrap paper, I also like to have just some what's it called, paper towel or some type of like tissue or something, so that I could wipe off excess ink or things if necessary. So those are simple things. I'm pretty sure anyone can get those. You can get those ready without any problems. Now we're getting to the more like the actual things you probably have to buy. So ink, get black ink and white ink. White ink is for fixing up those mistakes where, say, you put a line in the wrong place, or maybe you smudge it, like I said, or like I probably will be doing in the future, and get a black spot on your paper, on your perfectly white paper, and you have to clean that up. The white ink is very useful for that. And for applying the white ink, I usually just get a really cheap brush, not anything special. Just get the cheapest thing you have, because the ink is going to destroy it anyways. So just get a cheap brush that you can use to apply the ink. Also, if you're having trouble finding white ink, basic white out, like just correcting fluid for written documents, that works fine too. So you can use whiteout or anything like that. I use the ink because it just is a little bit more versatile. The places how you can like dip it and be more, I guess, more specific about the way you lay it down on the page. But whiteout, anything like that would be fine as well. There's also a number of brands of ink. I don't really know the differences. I know there definitely are differences. I'm pretty sure I read about it at one point, but I don't find them too. It doesn't bother me too much. I just get the cheapest thing. You could usually get them at any art supply store, I believe. Okay, so then, in addition to that, masking tape, and I'll show you in our exercise today how you use masking tape. So if you do have masking tape with you, that will help you with our exercise today. If you don't have it, that doesn't mean you can't do our exercise today. You may need to be a little bit more creative in the way that you work it out. But I'll show you how we use this a little bit later. Next we have Miri Pens. I'm going to be using the Japanese terms, but I don't remember what these are called in English. Miri Pen, what would this be in English? A fine point marker maybe? But yeah, these are they're inking pens that have a fine point that the size of the point is specified, usually like on the top of the cap. Let's see if you can see that. Like, say this one, it says 0. I'm having trouble aiming this. Can you see that? 0.8. And this is a 0.1. This one over here is a 0.03. I'm not sure what this is. What is this? It looks like it got rubbed off on the top. I'm gonna guess this is probably about a 0.8 as well. And so these are pretty useful for a couple of purposes. The first one is when you're setting up an actual page to work on. When you're doing the komawari, when you're making the outlines for the different blocks, using a 0.8 Miri pen usually gives you the right thickness for these lines. And then when you're doing anything inside of that, you want it to be thinner than the 0.8. So I usually get a 0.8, maybe a 0.1, and then something below 0, like a 0.03, to work in here. And actually, the exercise we're going to be doing today, I think I'm probably going to use this 0.03. This is actually the exercise that we're going to do after we go over the supplies. It's called amekake. It's one of a number of different types of how you say it, like cross-hatching techniques that are used in manga very often. So this can be done with nib pens or other tools, but I find that it's easiest to use the Miri Pens. So Miri Pens are very useful for that. I would say a 0.8 for the outlines, and then something smaller for the detailed works, and these like cross-hatching and other types of things that might come up in your drawings. So then we have the Tsukepen, or rather the Tsukepen holder. This is my favorite type. It's one that has two edges to it, two inserts to it on both sides. So I'll show this with the actual nibs. So these are the Tsukepen. These are the actual nibs here. I generally use two main things. I use the maru pen. Once again, I'm not sure if this is going to be a focus very well, but it's a very thin, circular. Like if you look at the end of it, it has like a circular end to insert side to it. And these are usually give you very thin and precise lines. They're used in a lot of shoujo manga, but also probably used in any manga, but mostly well known for making kind of lines that are similar to what you see a lot of times in shoujo manga. And the other one is the G Pen. The G Pen, the side that you insert is actually like a crescent. It's not a full circle, and usually, like, mine actually says G on it. So sorry, I'm having a lot of trouble like aiming up this the camera to my hands, but you can see that, right? It has. I'm not sure if you can make that out, but it has a G indented into it, and these give you a little bit bigger range of width, so that you can still get pretty thin, and you can also get larger, thicker than you usually could get with the Miri pen. So these are often used for types of lines that you see in Jump comics or like shonen comics. But I like to use both of these. So we put the, I don't know if you're going to be able to make this out, but I have a crescent. It's so disorientating. Okay, there we go. So we have a bit of a crescent here. So this sticks inside of here. And then the other side has the circle. So we're going to put the Maru pen. Maru means circle, by the way, in Japanese. So we put the Maru pen into the circle. And now we have a double-edged Tsukepen. This is or double-sided, I should say. Double-sided Tsukepen. So this is my favorite. They're a little hard to find. A lot of the time, a lot of the places you go to will probably just have one side, so you might end up getting just two. You might just get two what would you call this? Two bases and put different nibs in both of them. But if you can get a double-sided one, I recommend them. I use it all the time. Yeah, it's trying to run away from me. There you go. There are other types of Tsukepens as well. I have I think these are kaburas. These are just another type of Tsukepen. I would say just buy a number of them and test them out for yourself and see which ones you feel that suit you the best. And if this is your first time seeing these, I wouldn't be surprised, because I actually hadn't really used these at all until I came to Japan and started studying how they do manga here. But manga artists in Japan, the vast majority of the actual drawing that is done with these. It's not done with the inking markers. That may be a bit surprising to you, because I know that when I was in America and I was studying art there, most comic artists had different inking pens that they used, and it was all very much just using pens. But in Japan, maybe it's because they're still a little bit more traditional. I'm not exactly sure if that's the only reason, but they prefer actually using Tsukepen or even brushes, because the main advantage there is that, how do I say this? I think that in the most part in Western comics and in Western art in general, you tend to focus more on the overall shape of things and the overall we focus mostly on the shape, while in Japan they focused a lot more on the line. So for them, the value of having a beautiful line is very highly praised. And so when, for example, when I was taking my work to a lot of different publishers and magazines, I was surprised at how much time they spent just going over the way that I drew my lines. So it wasn't about oh, this character looks dumb, or oh, this background doesn't look realistic. No, there was a lot of time saying your lines cross over each other too much, or there isn't enough of a width variation within your strokes for your lines. They're very, very I guess you could say anal about lines. So in Japan, there's a high value on the beauty of a line, and so they tend to not really like just straight, pure one width type linear work, and they want lines that have that sort of a flow to them, that go from thin to thick. And these Tsukepens, not sure how well you're going to see this. Maybe I could zoom. When you push down, they open up. So that means that when you put ink on here, you can draw very softly to make thin lines, or you could push down to open up the nib, and then that's going to allow more ink to fall to touch the page, and you can make thick lines. We'll go more into that in our next episode when we actually go through the uses of all these different of some of these of the actual nib pens. But for now, we'll leave the explanation there. And it looks like that's more or less where it was before. Yeah. All right. So those are your nib pens. So try to purchase some of those. We're going to be doing some exercises, a lot of exercises with these actually in the future. So, and another thing is the Mensou Fude. I'm sure that other brushes are probably good as well, but I personally I got recommended to use the Mensou Fude by my teacher, and also I found out that my favorite manga artist who did things like Slam Dunk, I don't know, or Vagabond, he used the Mensou Fude, and when I heard that he was using Mensou Fude, I was very much I felt like I wanted to give it a shot, and so I tried it, and I fell in love with the Mensou Fude because I have a background doing oil paintings and things like that, and I felt that it just felt so much more natural to me than using Tsukepen pens. I feel like when I'm using Tsukepen pens, I don't feel like I have a complete control of how the ink is flowing very well. While with this, I felt like I can control it a lot better, and I also felt like that with the Mensou Fude, I could get extremely thin lines, and I could get pretty damn thick lines. Like I could get lines as thin as a Miri pen and as thick as a G pen with this one brush, and so that kind of like turned me onto this, and that's what I ended up using for a lot of my later work. Yeah, I just know that this is the one that I use and I enjoyed quite a bit, and the manga artist who did Slam Dunk and Vagabond, Inoue Takehiko, he used these, and he had very smooth line work that I really liked. So I tried them out, I liked them, and I recommend them as well. Next we also have, these are we're kind of getting into optional stuff right now, so I probably should have specified that you don't have to necessarily get a brush and a Tsukepen. I think you should probably definitely get a Tsukepen to try it out. These two, the brush and this next one, these are, if you want to try them out, you can get them. But you can do all the things you do with these with the Tsukepen. So you don't, these aren't like essentials, but if you can get them, I recommend just trying them out. So we had the brushes, the Mensou Fudes, and then and Fude means brush in Japanese, so it's a Mensou brush. And then this is a glass pen. And these, you can use them more or less the same as a Tsukepen, but the advantage to the glass pen over the Tsukepen is that the Tsukepen, since you're pushing down and since it's metal, you can't move upwards. So like, you can stroke this way, but you can't stroke that way because you'll just tear into the paper. But with the glass pen, the ink just accumulates on the end, and you can actually move up and you can move around and stuff. It moves a lot more like just a regular marker. Maybe not exactly the same. I mean, probably if you were going up, you still kind of want to be kind of soft with it. But you can just move a lot of different. It has a little bit more maneuverability than the Tsukepen does. So you might want to try that out as well. So once again, just sorry for reiterating so many times, but I would say definitely get Tsukepen, Nib Pens. The maru pen and the G pen, those are pretty much the most used ones. You could try out other ones if you want, but I recommend those. And I really encourage you to get this because this is kind of the base of all Japanese manga. So I think that even if you think that you would like these more, you should try this out first, just so you can kind of understand how that works. And then if you want to try out different things, these are not essential, but if you do have a chance to buy them, I also recommend that you try out Mensou brushes and glass pen, and just see whatever fits you the best. And there are things like these are also somewhat recommended, but not essential. Is the Fude pen. So this is an actual brush pen, and this can do a lot. This can be very helpful for filling in like very large black dark areas, and can be useful. But I just found that you can't control the ink the way that you can with the actual real brush. So I tend to use the real brush a lot more because you have a lot more control about the actual like brush tip and the way that the hairs flow across the page. While this there's no hair, it's just kind of like a soft tip. So for me it didn't really feel quite the same, and it was also difficult to control the ink sometimes for me. But yeah, try it out and see what you think. So this is the brush pen. This is just another brush pen. This is just a smaller one. And pencil. Yeah, pretty self-explanatory. Now this is erasable blue pencil lead, and these are great because when you're doing your outlines. Well, first off, it's pencil lead, so it's extremely small, so you could use that to do small details. But you don't necessarily have to get the pencil lead. You could get an erasable blue pencil. Either way is fine. But the key thing is to be able to make erasable blue marks on your page. And the reason for that is because blue doesn't really come up in printing or in copies. So even in this manga page right here, you're not gonna be able to see it on the video, but there are blue markers on here that are telling me like how many millimeters. Like there's like a ruler along this way. There's areas that tell me where the page cuts off if it was printed, so I know where to put the information that I want to make sure that the viewer sees in the page and so forth. And it's all blue because blue does not show up when it's printed. And so that means that if you do all your initial pencil outlines and everything in blue, even if you don't erase the blue, or if there's still some blue left over, even if you probably should try to erase anyways, but even if there is still some blue left over, it's not going to show up on the in the actual print. And that was a lifesaver for me, because if you do everything in pencil, and you definitely can do everything in pencil, don't get me wrong, you don't have to have the blue, that's just another recommended thing. But if you do it in pencil, you have to be very careful to erase all of the pencil after you're done inking, because if you don't, the pencil marks will show up in the print, and that's no good. And also, if you're not careful, you may smudge the ink while you're erasing if you don't wait long enough for it to dry. So there's just all those types of things that you can kind of save yourself a little bit of trouble by using an erasable blue pencil. Alright, two more simple things. This is fairly easy. An eraser. Get a nice clean eraser that you can use to erase pencil marks and so forth. And then this is a ink eraser, which is basically just like somewhat like sandpaper that you're basically just sanding away the top layer of your paper to get rid of the ink. So this is something you may use on occasion to clean up your page. You can't use it to erase. It's not like straight up like erasable, I wouldn't say, because you're tearing away at your page every time you do it, so you want to use it sparingly. But it can help you clean up the page a little bit on some cases. Okay, and lastly, this is one more thing that you may already have, but if you don't have it, you might want to pick it up. A lighter. The nib pens tend to accumulate oil on the tips, so to burn away the oil, because the oil kind of affects the ink flow, you would burn the edge with a lighter. So like, say I have this huge lighter because I don't smoke, so I don't have like a pocket lighter or anything, but if you want to be more portable, maybe just the pocket, like small size lighters would be better. But for now, basically just show you take the lighter, you just put it along the edge of the nib pen, and that burns away any oil that may have been accumulated there. So that's also a good thing to have. This video has taken longer than I thought it would, so I think I'm going to split this into two parts. This is going to be the supply video and the kakeami exercise that I mentioned. We'll actually do in the next video. I'm sorry, I just realized that I pronounced it when I said it at the beginning of the video. I think I called it ami kake, but it's actually the opposite. It's kake ami. But anyways, yeah. So we'll go into these kake ami and other such cross hatching exercises and techniques in the next video. And just to review real quick of the items that you actually essentially have to have. There's a lot of the items that I mentioned here that were just suggestions. So now these are just the ones that I really say that you essentially need to have for doing these manga workshops. Tsukepen. So Tsukepen with a G pen and a maru pen. Those are your basic. Those are the most commonly used nibs in Japanese manga. Let's see, black ink, white ink, or white out, or liquid correction fluid, anything like that. I highly recommend masking tape, but if you can't find masking tape, it's not essential, but it will make your life a lot easier to have masking tape. Paper, of course, and this just regular scrap paper and stuff, and also the paper actually made for doing comics. So if you can find actually Manga Genkou, that is the best. But if it's not sold in your art supplies shop, just get another paper that's B4 sized. You could look B4 or A4 sized, and you could look up the actual measurements for that online, and also look up how to set it up to match the actual manga page. But it just needs to be more of a weighted paper than your standard letterhead, because when you're using tools like this and when you're using this much ink, letterhead paper doesn't hold up very well. Other than that, eraser. This is not really essential to get the inking eraser. Other essentials, Miri Pens. Yeah, these are pretty important. I would say if you can only, so these are the ones I have. I have I actually have two 0.8s. I have a 0.1 and a 0.03, but if you could only get two, okay, if you could only get one, definitely get a 0.8. That's essential because you use that for making the komawari, and if you don't have a komawari, it'd be hard to get to measure the right size for your frames to look right. So I definitely recommend 0.8. Just to clarify, some other artists may use 0.9, 0.7, different things, but my teacher told me 0.8, and I just kind of stuck to that. So I'd recommend the same to use 0.8. If you can get two, I get a 0.8 and a 0.03. This one I'm not going to say it has to be specifically 0.03, 0.01, 0.02, anything around that, just something below 0.1 to have very fine line work. And I'd say generally if you have the two of these, you're pretty set for Miri Pens, but if you just want to have a little plus alpha, a little bit extra, get a 0.1 as well, just to have some variation, and maybe get as many as you want after that, just to kind of try out different thicknesses. But generally the 0.8 is pretty essential, and then something very small for fine line work, like a zero, so anything under 0.1. Other than that, I guess the rest of these are all just recommended. These are just things to try out. So that is your shopping list for to get ready for the future videos. In the very next video, I will just be using a Miri pen and some paper. So if you have an inking pen of any kind with paper, you can do the exercise in the next videos. But for the videos after that, we're gonna start using things like Tsukepen pens and stuff. So you can get those ready when you have the chance. All right, that's all for this video. Till next time, yoroshiku.